My name's Louise Thornthwaite, and I'm the coordinator of the Bachelor's degree in Leadership and Commerce. And I'm going to spend a bit of time today explaining to you what that degree involves and some of the entry requirements and so forth for it. I wanted to start off just with a little inspirational slide about superheroes, just to ask you the question, which you don't really need to verbalise your answers, this is a bit rhetorical really, but to ask you the question, if these are your superheroes, or any of these are your superheroes, why are these your superheroes? And of course, I would imagine that most of you would say, well, it's not because of their costumes and their masks and their fantastic hairdos. It's actually because of something else that they represent and that they do. And I guess these sorts of comic caricatures that become our sort of great live flesh sort of heroes on film are heroes because they have some kind of a vision and some kind of a commitment to something, and they actually take that out into the community and take other people with them, with their vision. And so this is really what the Bachelor of Leadership and Commerce is all about, is trying to develop and build upon those skills that people have in order to enable them to become a bit more like these superheroes. What I'm going to be talking with you about is this Bachelor of Business Leadership and Commerce, which is a new flagship degree in the Faculty of Commerce. And what we are looking for are ambitious students with strategic minds that are able to formulate new ideas. The degree is a 4-year integrated degree. The idea is that it combines a focus on business leadership skills and also a focus on other professional areas in business and commerce. So the idea is that if you enrol in this course, you'll actually have a complete sort of integrated major in business leadership, which has a range of courses which I'll go into in a moment, and also another major in one of the other areas of the commerce degree, like human resource management, marketing, and so forth, international business. So you indeed could also do another major. You could actually probably have a double major in there as well, or at least a major and another minor, minors being 4 courses and majors being 8 in that degree. So you get that combination with the focus, very specific focus on leadership skills and knowledge and understanding, and also on other areas of business. Why? What are we actually talking about here with leadership? Why is it important? What we're actually talking about here is a process. It's a process. Leadership is a process by which we influence other people. We influence their thoughts and their attitudes and their behaviour. It's also an ability, or a set of abilities, to get other people to do something significant that they might not otherwise do, to actually move people in particular directions and to achieve things they might not otherwise achieve. And it's about having a vision about where you want a business to go, or a particular function to go in a business, or people to go, and the skills and the qualities to actually motivate people to actually get behind doing those things. So what we're focusing on in this leadership major is developing a whole set of skills and capacities quite specifically around leadership. So looking at how we lead ourselves, how we lead others, issues to do with communication, decision making, negotiation and advocacy, and a whole range of sort of capacities being developed that enable or build each individual's personal ability to actually, shape and influence and persuade and get other people to take up their visions, in a sense, and move with those. The entry requirements. Some of you have probably already sort of looked at this in quite a lot of detail in the book, but just to go through it all, the entry requirements: general maths is assumed knowledge. That's because it's assumed knowledge in the commerce degree. And Year 12 HSC Maths is required for economics, accounting and finance majors, and so if one were to choose one of those majors along with leadership, then this would actually be a requisite. The ATAR, as you can all appreciate, it's a new degree, and ATARs are to a very large extent fixed by supply and demand sorts of issues. What we're envisaging is that the ATAR will be somewhere around about 93 for this course. It's a very specialised program, and so it also the entry into it also requires two special things which are not required more generally for the commerce degree. One is uploading a CV through UAC, and I understand when you go into the UAC system and put in your preferences, you'll kind of automatically be sort of prompted to add a CV. If you're wondering what a CV is a resume where you essentially would record your achievements and sort of any work work and other sorts of community activities that you might have been involved in. And I guess that essentially what will be looked for is that sort of engagement, either in leadership sorts of activities or other things which show some kind of wider engagement with the community, which might be sort of community work or various voluntary organisations, but also sports clubs and sports coaching and refereeing, a whole range of different activities that you might include in your resume to show some kind of engagement there with sort of community and with other people. And what we're then going to be doing is interviews. The interviews, I understand, I've got an 18-year-old son myself who's doing his HSC, and I understand from analysis of the dates of his schoolies week that the interviews will in fact be after schoolies week, or schoolies fortnight, or however long schoolies takes. So it's end of November and early December, and the interviews can either be held on campus or via Skype. So people who are kind of off continuing the fun can organise to link in via Skype in some way, and there'll be a sort of email sent out to people who might be interested in doing this. The interviews are only sort of 10-15 minute interviews. It's all of this is designed to in a sense develop some understanding of why you want to do the degree and that specific sort of degree. What your intentions and commitment and ambitions might be in relation to it. So those are the special requirements. The structure of the degree is, as I said, essentially a commerce degree with this very, very specific sort of major within it. So what students will be doing is the 5 core commerce subjects and then choosing a major, although as I said, indeed you could in fact choose 2 majors. Or a major and a minor. There's also the People and Planet unit that is a requirement of the commerce degree. So you end up having to do a unit from another faculty, basically either on people or planets. There are lists of those. The leadership subjects, as you can see, we've got these new subjects. They're all new, they're all specifically developed for this degree. These are all basically going to be available in this major, and at this point at least, certainly not more widely. So the complete 8 core leadership subjects include leading self, leading others, and communication for effective leadership, and they're the first 3 that you do. And then we'll have ethics and social responsibility, creativity and innovation, problem solving, leadership and influence in actions, that's about influencing people, and then an applied leadership project which will involve some sort of an industry involvement in that in terms of developing the project, and there'll be an industry basis for the work being done. So quite a really sort of comprehensive package that's very tightly tailored around developing those leadership skills, and that will then lead to the degree. So basically there'll be that core leadership set of subjects and one other major, or indeed, as I said, possibly two if you did a double degree, but that would still fit into the 4 years. Okay, so that's the structure that we're looking at, we've got here. And what sort of career opportunities? It's actually one of those things that's quite hard to, it's quite hard to sort of predict, what kinds of careers are going to be available in that respect. I mean, essentially what we're looking at is a labour market where people come out of the commerce degree and they're basically signalling to employers that they've got specific areas of expertise. In doing one or two of those professional majors, you would actually be signalling that you've got a human resource management and a marketing concentration, for instance, or one of the other concentrations. But with the leadership concentration, you'd be signalling to employers that you in fact had built and developed a range of those specific skills, and which they would see on the program in terms of communication, negotiation and advocacy and persuasion and so forth. Now, what that essentially would position you for are all of the normal, usual kinds of positions that come out of the commerce degree, or the people coming out of the commerce degree do, many of which are on this list. But it would also sort of signal, in terms of a graduate recruitment opportunity, for instance, that you have those specific sorts of leadership skills, which might in fact pitch you into a different set of experiences in the graduate recruitment process, and certainly perhaps be looked at as someone who has those specific skills in comparison with those who don't. And what I mean by that is that there is in fact a very great interest out there in business. The advisory boards of the university very strongly encouraged, the advisory boards of the faculty strongly encouraged a focus on leadership, on developing leadership specifically, and that's why this degree has been developed. And certainly I think there's the searching out there for people with these skills. So to some extent you're signalling to the same labour market, and to some extent a slightly different labour market, the labour market that's looking for people with that set of influence and persuasion skills. So the career opportunities could be much broader than those that we've put up there. It's very hard to say what kinds, to predict the kinds of jobs. Jobs are also changing all the time. This is the other thing, of course, is that in business and in management, the jobs keep on being retitled and refashioned and reshaped. And we see in human resource management that learning and development is being reshaped as talent management and a whole range of other things. And jobs actually morph over time. And so what might be available now could be very different to what's available in 3 or 4 years' time. Okay, what we have done on the internet is put up a facts site which provides a number of answers to the sorts of questions that we anticipated people might have. But these are some of the answers that we put on the facts site about the CV, which needs to be uploaded through UAT by 31st of October. And as I said, you'll basically be prompted to upload that. Now, that doesn't have to be a lengthy document. It's about just basically highlighting the sorts of experiences that you've had. With a one-page cover letter and 2 referees. attached to that. Then the interviews will be notified in November. They'll be held they're actually going to be held late November to early December, approximately 20 minutes on campus or through Skype. And we're in the process of developing those now. What sort of things might you include in the CV? Well, there's a whole range of bits and bobs up there that kind of merge into each other. But as I said, it's not simply about having completed leadership programs at school or being a school captain or a school prefect. Those things obviously count. But it's also about the interests that you might have demonstrated, and community activities, memberships, coaching, and sporting kinds of activities that you've been involved in, and also your aspirations and your sorts of ambitions and goals, and key skills come into that too. So it's really about showing, I guess, first of all, that you've reflected on your qualities and skills, and can articulate those in a resume, but also that you can list a number of competencies and achievements and activities. It's not something to get too caught up in. As I say, it's a short CV. It's sort of 2 pages at the most, but and I'm sure most people nowadays coming out of school have all sorts of things to put on their resumes. So many activities and things that you're involved in. So if you're interested in leadership and how it affects you and how it affects other people, and you want to sort of lead an organisation, or you're interested in developing yourself to meet those challenges, to develop those very specific skills, and you want to make a difference in the world, then this is the degree for you. And I think there are all sorts of, there's a huge range of people out there who show leadership. I was listening on Radio National yesterday about a young guy, Ben Mitchell or something, in Melbourne, who runs a cafe, who has now is now using his cafe to fund a food for health program in the slums of Buenos Aires, and his cafe basically is a non-profit making cafe, so that all the profits are now going to fund this community service over in Brazil, where he's providing nutritional advice to kids in the slums, and feeding them every day. Which of course is an example of leadership, one example of leadership. There are so many others. There's the woman who was on television the other day who started Carmen's, the muesli guru, and that sort of business entrepreneurial leadership in a much more sort of in a profit-making way. There's so many different forms of leadership that you can imagine, and that are possible to actually get involved in these days. And I think, if you think about the range of things that are available, it's a very exciting time, actually, in terms of the choices of ways to exercise leadership. And so we're hoping that this degree will actually provide the skills and capacities that will help you to do that.